ויהי בשלח פרעה את העם, ולא נחם אלוקים דרך ארץ פלישתים, כי קרוב הוא. The Pasuk tells us, when Hashem sent them out of Egypt, He didn't take the shortcut. He didn't send them north to El Arish, and from there to Eretz Israel, or to Sinai that way. But He sent them southwards into a midbar, into a desert. Simply to understand, ki karovu, that if they saw milchama, they came across nations who would fight them, they would go back. Easier for them to go back to Israel. To Ishmael, to Mitzrayim, because it was close. So it took them wrong, a circuitous way, and to take them away into a midbar, so that it would be harder for them to come back to Mitzrayim, and they wouldn't see any milchama. There were no nations who were living in the desert. That's a simple pshat. But the Chavetz Chaim comes with a very beautiful, interesting concept. He says, "V'lo nicham ele Hashem derech eretz pelishtim ki karovu." The Jews were coming out of Mitzrayim. They had been influenced by Mitzrayim and the Avodah Zarah of Mitzrayim, and they were in a very spiritual, low level of spirituality. For such a nation to come across more nations which have a spiritual integration, a spiritual tum'ah of the Avodah Zarah, like the Philistine, and those people lived on the coast, then that would be very detrimental to them. To come under further influence of tum'ah, of Avodah Zarah, or like Mitzrayim. So that v'lo nicham Elokim derech eretz pelishtim ki karov, because they are similar to Mitzrayim. They're close to Mitzrayim in their bad outlook, in their bad influence. So instead, He took them down around southwards into a desert where they wouldn't meet any nations, and they'd have to times to fortify their spirituality, and eventually they came to Matan Torah. So that's where Hashem took them away from. Says the Chavetz Chaim, there's a lesson here. You know, on one hand, if they went north and they went to where there were nations which living on the coast, then they were productive. They could have got food, they could have bought food, they had money, they could have bought water. Logistically, it would have been much more easier to sustain so many million people who are walking, going towards Eretz Israel. But in fact, Hashem took them to a midbar. A midbar, logistically, it's a nightmare. Where are you going? How are you going to feed so many million people? Give them water, give them all their needs. Go in a desert. Yes? So the lesson here is that Hashem tells you, take yourself away from a spiritual influence, bad spiritual influence. Even if it means it's going to cost you, it's going to be difficult with Parnassah, it's going to be difficult, I'll take care of that. Parnassah is my job. But the spirituality, not going into a spiritual situation and being influenced badly, that is your responsibility. So Hashem did not allow them to go toward in the north to a bad spiritual environment. Instead, He says, even if it means difficulty, they have to create you manna, give you a bread from Shammai, or open a rock to give you water. I'll do all that, but don't put yourself in bad influence. The lesson for us is that we are faced many times by such challenges. The easy way out is for Parnassah might be in a place which the influence is not too good. Yes, Hashem tells you avoid that. Even in a place, you have to go to a place where the Parnassah is difficult. The livelihood is difficult. But there I'll help you. That's my job, to sustain you. I will give you Parnassah. But you have to do your best to keep away from a bad influence. Many times we have to send our children to schools where it costs a lot of money. It's difficult. But you know what? The influence is good there. You not pick out the schools that might be cheaper or might be free. But the influence there is not too good for our children. You have to make that stand. You have to take up that challenge, and that is the lesson we can hear from what Hashem sent them into a midbar and not into Kikarov, into a shortcut, a land of inhabitation where people lived and the nations where they could have bought food and have water and would have everything they need. Yes, so that's how we should look at life. Face the challenges of Parnasa, even they are difficult, but avoid bad spiritual influences. Shabbat Shalom.